Okay, good people. Welcome to the second segment of Improvising through Lent. Today we're going to take a look at our second tenet of improv and then unpack it a little bit and see what it can teach us about faith, about prayer, about our relationship with God, our relationships with one another, and basically just how to be the best person that we can possibly be. So that second tenet is to give yourself up for the good of the team. You should be able to see some parallels almost instantly with faith, with prayer, with that idea of selflessness. But it goes even a little bit deeper than that. So in terms of improv, the beautiful thing about this rule is that you cannot succeed in improv unless you commit to this. You simply cannot do it. Whether you're in the context of a scene, whether you're in the context of a game, regardless of what it is impossible to succeed through selfishness in improv. Because it shifts. It becomes almost like a one-man show or stand-up comedy when you make it self-focused. So the idea is, and why this is one of these building blocks, one of these tenets of improv is, okay, your job at every moment is to make everyone else look good. Your job at every moment is to put your focus on your scene partner or partners or everyone that is in a game with you. It is entirely outward focused. And the cool thing is that what happens when we do that successfully, when we focus entirely on the other, we look tremendous. It is the best way to succeed in improv. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, you're lifting one another up, right? Just the obvious. That energy of outward focus is ensuring that everyone looks their best and that everyone is safe and free to sort of take chances. The other thing is, now I got no science behind this, but for me, the number one roadblock to creation and creative energy is not only judgment, but self-judgment. So if I'm left to my own devices and left in my own head and left thinking about myself when I'm trying to improvise, you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about how bushy my eyebrows are. I'm thinking about whether or not I've got some spare ones in between here that I haven't tweezed. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm only 5'5". You could see that if I were standing up. I'm thinking about the fact that I feel bloated because I had ice cream the night before. I'm thinking about how my clothes don't fit perfectly, so it makes me feel self-conscious. I'm thinking about all those things. I'm thinking about whether or not my breath smells. I'm thinking about whether my ears are symmetrical. It is a Pandora's box of self-judgment that just runs away with itself. Nobody likes that feeling, but we all know it. The best way I have figured out to combat that feeling is to focus outward, is to focus on other people. If I'm thinking about whoever I'm in a scene with, I'm thinking about whoever I'm in a game with, I'm not thinking about myself. And that way, I'm not thinking about my bushy eyebrows. I'm not thinking about how short I am. I'm merely thinking about how can I make this other person look fantastic. And what happens as a result? I've got at least one other person, but usually 3 or 4 other people looking out for me and trying to make me look fantastic. How awesome is that? To be convinced, to be assured, to be confident that you have a team of people whose only focus is to make you look terrific, to make you succeed as best you can. And when that happens, it's when beautiful improv happens. When you see that happening, it's that improv, whether it's in outtakes, whether it's on Who's Line, whether it's at Second City, whether it's SNL, where you recognize something great is happening even though you can't put your finger on it. That's the greatness. Everyone is looking out for one another. So then we turn that focus onto our faith life. We turn that focus onto our relationship with God. We turn that focus onto our relationship with one another and how we be the best person that we can possibly be, not only this Lenten season, but throughout the course of our life. And it's no secret. We're asked whether it's through Christianity and that sort of golden rule, right? The greatest commandment, to love God above all else, but then to love thy neighbor, to love one another the way that God loves us. So immediately, the most important thing we can do is to take care of one another. And this is not specific to Christianity. It is not specific to Catholicism. If you look at any major religion, there's a focus on taking care of the other. Whoever the other is, those on the margins of society. Regardless of which religion you look at, that is a focus of what it means to live by faith. Our Jewish brothers and sisters, right? There's a word, anawim, as far as those outcasts that need to be taken care of, that require our special care, our special love, our special attention. But we see throughout the prophets, every single one of the prophets is basically shouting from the mountaintops saying, stop, take care of the orphans, take care of the widows, take care of the poor. Stop stepping on the poor and then pretending that you're a great person because you worship this way. Right? We see an entire pillar of Islam devoted to charity, to giving of what we have, to make sure that the poor are taken care of. We see it in Hinduism. Buddhism goes so far as to remove the idea of self, right? To remove that idea of I, so that we see everyone in the context of we, everyone in the context of the Atman, or being part of Brahman in Buddhism. But all of us belong together. St. Teresa of Calcutta, echoed it for us over and over and over and over again. We belong to one another. So imagine a world where we normalized this idea. Imagine a world where it was not only okay, but it was important. It was necessary. It was agreed upon that our first focus should be on everyone else. And there's no risk in that. We think there is because our human perceptions are so small. There is no risk in that, right? Immediately our fear is like, uh-oh, but then what about me? What about me? Well, to a certain extent, it's time to get over ourselves. And I don't mean that harshly or in judgment, but what I mean is, don't worry about you. Everyone else will. Everyone else will. So you will be taken care of. And what does it require? Well, at the end of the day, it requires great faith, right? It requires that faith to say, all right, I'm going to be taken care of. Not only by my brothers and sisters, but by God. And if I focus on that relationship, and if I'm honest with God, like 100% honest, and just say, here I am, I've got a ton of flaws, I'm a broken human being, there's things that I have shame for, and there are things that I do really well, but this is just me. Here I am. Take care of me. So there we have it, right? This basic idea that is so deep and has so many different levels of give yourself up for the good of the team. And then see what happens when everyone else is giving themselves up for the good of you. And perhaps one way or another, we'll enter into this beautiful, creative experience of faith, of love, of relationship, that we might always understand that we belong to one another, right? The universe will belong to you as soon as it belongs to everyone. Have an awesome week, everybody. And I look forward to checking in with you next week. And in the meantime, love yourselves, love one another, and for the love of God, yes, and.